All right, let's jump right in. We're going to talk about something you use literally every second of every day, but probably never ever think about. And that is the electric grid. It's this massive trillion-dollar foundation that's hiding in plain sight. And believe me, it's about to change, well, pretty much everything. For the better part of a century, this whole network has been the quiet, unsung hero of our entire world. It's this incredible marvel of copper and steel and transformers that powers our homes, our jobs, our entire digital lives. We just flip a switch and we just assume the power's going to be there. We completely take it for granted. But here's the thing. What happens when that system starts to fail? Because that is exactly what is happening right now. This incredible marvel of the 20th century, well, it's old. It's getting fragile, and it is facing a crisis that it was never, ever designed to handle. So let's really get into the heart of the problem here. We are facing what you could call an invisible crisis, one that's happening just behind our walls and right under our streets. The biggest issue, and you really have to wrap your head around this, is just its age. I mean, think about it. A huge chunk of our grid was built back in the 1950s and 60s. The hardware, the actual nuts and bolts, is literally expiring. This old, aging infrastructure is the number one reason it's so incredibly vulnerable to all the new pressures we're about to throw at it. And oh boy, are those pressures immense. The whole architecture of the grid is being pushed to its absolute breaking point by a world that has just completely changed since it was first designed.
In this slide, this really lays out the mismatch perfectly. See, the old grid on the left was simple, right? You had these big, centralized power plants that pushed electricity one way, out to your house. Simple, predictable. But the new demands on the right, it's a whole different ballgame. We've got wind and solar that come and go with the weather. You've got people with solar panels sending power back to the grid. And then you have these huge concentrated power sucks from things like EV chargers. It's a two-way, decentralized, kind of chaotic new world, and it's running on a one-way, centralized old system. It just wasn't built for this.
So let's break those pressures down even more. First, we've got way more frequent and intense weather events that are just knocking out old lines left and right. Then there's that two-way or bi-directional flow from rooftop solar that's totally confusing the system. You also have entire neighborhoods plugging in their electric cars at pretty much the same time every evening. And on top of all of that, you have the AI race, which needs these massive, unbelievably energy-hungry data centers that can use more power than an entire city. And this right here, this is one of the biggest technical headaches for grid operators. It's called the duck curve. Just look at the shape of it. During the day, that belly of the duck dips down because solar power is everywhere. It's abundant. But then, right as the sun goes down, what happens? Everyone gets home from work. They turn on their lights, their TVs, their ovens. Power demand just skyrockets right as that solar production falls off a cliff. That huge, steep ramp-up needed from other power plants in such a short window of time, it can seriously destabilize the entire grid. So here's the bottom line. It's actually pretty simple. All of our ambitions, I'm talking about a future powered by clean energy, full of electric vehicles, driven by AI, all of it is completely and totally impossible without first fixing the grid. It is the single point of failure for our biggest and most important goals. But, with a crisis this massive comes an equally massive opportunity. And the saviors of our high-tech future, well, they are not who you might think. We are entering what you might call a boring industrial renaissance. Yeah, while Silicon Valley gets all the headlines, these are the companies that are actually building the future. Forget software for just a second and think about the hard stuff. High-voltage cables, massive power transformers, advanced switchgear. Companies like Siemens, Schneider Electric, ABB, and Eaton, they're the ones making all this stuff. And get this, their order backlogs are hitting historic all-time highs. They are the new gatekeepers. Okay, so we know who the players are, but how do we actually do this? I mean, what does a $1 trillion fix for the entire grid even look like? Well, it really comes down to three critical pillars. First, you've got hardened transmission. That means we need bigger, stronger power lines to move all that wind and solar power from the remote places where it's generated to the cities where we all live and use it. Second is digital intelligence. This is where we embed sensors and AI all over the grid to create a smart grid that can predict problems and even self-heal by rerouting power automatically. And third, you have edge modernization. That's all about strengthening the wires right in your neighborhood so the system doesn't collapse when everyone plugs in their car at once.
And the scale of this, it is just staggering. To hit our climate goals, global investment in the grid needs to double from where it is today to over $600 billion. And that's not a one-time thing. That's every single year by 2030.
And this is not a quick fix, not at all. Right now, the lead time to get just one of those big power transformers can be over 2 years. This is a multi-decade cycle of spending. It is a guaranteed, long-term revenue stream for the companies building this new physical plumbing for our economy, and it's all driven by pure, absolute necessity. So this all takes us to the much bigger picture. Because really, this isn't just about keeping the lights on anymore. This is now a fundamental issue of national power and national security.
The geopolitical stakes here are incredibly high. Think about it. You cannot win the AI race if your grid can't even power the data centers you need. You can't be economically competitive if your entire industrial base is suffering from blackouts. Having a strong, modern grid is no longer just some infrastructure goal. It's a core piece of national security and industrial strategy for every single major country in the world.
Which really brings us to this powerful final idea. For so long we've been obsessed with the digital, the virtual, the world of software. But our future is completely tethered to the real world. The coming decade is going to be a stark reminder that everything we do online depends on a physical foundation of cables, transformers, and substations.
So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. We are racing to build this incredible, electrified, AI-driven digital future. But are we paying nearly enough attention to the physical foundation it all rests on? Is that foundation really strong enough to hold the weight of all our ambitions?